Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. This video we're going to be talking about heavy rain, thunderstorms, a little bit of tropics, and then we're still looking at that heat. Heat is still a big issue and it's going to start migrating east. So if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another in-depth weather video. Now here I am on the National Weather Service page. The heat advisories have actually toned down a bit. The excessive heat warnings, the heat advisories, they've toned down a little bit. You still have some severe thunderstorm advisories as well, so thunderstorm watches, warnings, all sorts of stuff in there. Air quality alerts, dense fog advisories, all in the central part of the country. And other than that, just some sporadic special weather statements, fire weather watches, and then just the air quality alerts, dense fog advisories. They pop up everywhere. I think there's one red flag warning or excessive heat warning right in there. But let's go to the radar. We can see that we do have a system moving through that is producing some thunderstorms. And this system is going to be moving east throughout the next few days, and it should bring a decent amount of rainfall, which is good. But especially for the eastern parts of the country, especially the northeast, they're starting to get into drought, and that's not good. So this system is going to work some wonders in the northeast, hopefully. But right now we're looking at some thunderstorm activity in two sections here. You have this northern section, and then you have the southwestern section of the storm. The northern section is kind of where we've been seeing our higher Torcon values, from the Weather Channel's higher Torcon values. And in the southwest is where you're going to see more of your typical, well, kind of typical weather for right now. So let's actually start with the excessive rainfall, because this storm is basically going to be a super soaker. So chances of flash flooding, you have slight and marginal risks. Slight is 10 to 20%. You have areas in New Mexico, as well as areas of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, and Missouri. Marginal risks, and everywhere shaded in dark green, you have these three splotches here. So you have one in Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico. One in Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And another one in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So let's move on to the Storm Prediction Center for our thunderstorm outlook. We do have some slight risks in areas like Peoria, Hannibal. I'm going to include Kansas City, St. Louis, Pueblo, and there's nothing else in there. Then you have this marginal risk in Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, parts of Kentucky. Then you have Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Kansas. If you're in that light green area, you're in the general thunderstorm category, which means that you can expect some thunderstorms, possible isolated thunderstorms, but there is no chance of them being severe. If you're in a marginal risk, you have a 1 out of 5 chance, and if you're in slight, you're in that 2 out of 5 risk. Now let's go to the National Hurricane Center. Right now, nothing is expected in the next 48 hours in the Atlantic. East Pacific, nothing except for TD6. TD6 is now remnants. So, as I expected, this thing really didn't do much. Wasn't going to form into a tropical storm. So, it stayed a tropical depression the entire time. And we have seen there hasn't been a hurricane in the Western Hemisphere at all this year. So, it's kind of odd, and I think we're a little bit behind pace. But in terms of actual named storms, the Atlantic is ahead of pace. So we have the storms there, they're just not generating into hurricanes. So right now, hurricanes are a little bit below average. But hopefully as we get later into the season, those numbers will start to spike. Now, Central Pacific really shouldn't have much. Yeah, nothing there. And then 5-day outlooks, none, and none. So we're starting to get into a lull here in the tropics, which is good. because we've had a pretty active pattern in the tropics, especially in the Atlantic. So we're starting to get into a lull in the action, and that is good. We need a little bit of a breather. Now let's go to the nan 3-kilometer model, where we're going to continue to track this system here. So let's start in here. You have just more thunderstorms getting generated in those slight risk areas. As you see, let's actually, yeah, right in here. More of those thunderstorms forming in there. Some pretty intense bow echoes as well. Then of course you have another round in here in that other slight risk. So everything's kind of falling into place when it comes to the National Weather Service compared to the NAM models. So now that system eventually moves into the northeast, and you start to see it getting that spin. Now this seems like an upper level low, because the low pressure is actually up here. So if we move on to the 12-kilometer, just to see this through, it shows that there could possibly be some thunderstorms in the metropolitan areas, but most of the actual rain is farther north. Which, farther north actually does need the rain. Areas like northern New England and into Maine as well, parts of Maine, are in the higher droughted areas. Faye did a little bit to calm down the drought in the metropolitan areas of New York and Philadelphia, as well as some areas near DC. So those areas are fine. It's really up here, and I wish I pulled up the drought monitor. I'll probably pull up the drought monitor tomorrow. Their website's a little bit different than the other three, but I'll possibly pull that up tomorrow. So that moves through, and then we start to see more rounds in the central part of the country. So let's move on. Let's go back to the NAM 3-kilometer. Let's go to our temperatures. So today's temperatures, we're going to see right over here. So still triple-digit values in parts of Texas, as well as the desert, and parts of the valley regions of California. But it's starting to tone down a bit. So compared to right now, it's kind of a little bit lower in those values. Now, if you compare it to now, you're starting to get more heat in the eastern parts of the country. If we continue into Thursday, you're starting to see this plume of heat start to move east. And that is going to be the trend as the high pressure continues to move north and east. And that's why we're getting our storms in the northern part of the country, because that's the only place they can form. So we have 90s and 100s in most of the south, 70s and 80s in the north, except for you have some areas that have gotten rain in this image. They're in the 60s or the 80s in the south. That all depends on where the rain hits. So this is just a general picture. This isn't exactly the highest temperatures that everyone's going to see for the day. This is a general picture. So basically you're going to be seeing 80s, 70s through 90s in the north, except for some elevated areas, and 80s through triple digits in the south, except for a few areas. Of course, yeah, the areas that have gotten more rainfall, more cloud cover, less sunlight, will see lower temperatures. But that is all I wanted to show for today. I hope you all have a great Wednesday, and I will see you again tomorrow.